So the Nations Championship 2026 kicks off this weekend. I know many rugby fans are asking, what is this Nation Championships all about? How does it work? So how the Nation Championship basically will work is it's basically the Northern Hemisphere versus the Southern Hemisphere teams. And how it will work is you have one group of the Northern Hemisphere teams, the second group will be the Southern Hemisphere teams. The Northern Hemisphere teams consist of the Six Nation teams, basically the teams that normally plays in the Six Nations. And the Southern Hemisphere teams consist obviously of your South Africa, Argentina, Australia, and New Zealand. And the two teams that's added to the Southern Hemisphere teams are Japan and Fiji. So what will happen is in the month of July, all the Northern Hemisphere teams will be traveling to the South to play 3 games against 3 different Southern Hemisphere opponents. Okay, so like I said, you have one group of the Northern Hemisphere teams and you get the second group of the Southern Hemisphere teams. The month of July, all the Northern Hemisphere teams will be playing the Southern Hemisphere teams in the South. Okay, once those 3 games was finished in the month of July, the tally you will basically see where you land up in your group within the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. Then in the month of November, all the southern hemisphere teams will go to the north to play 3 games against the southern hemisphere teams to complete the 6 rounds basically. So all the northern hemisphere teams will play all the southern hemisphere teams. So once all 6 games is completed in the month of November, you'll obviously tell up to see who's first, second, third in the respective hemisphere. And then at the end of November, all the teams will be going to Twickenham to play the finals weekend. Now, the finals weekend will work is you will have Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. So if you ended third in the Northern Hemisphere and you ended third in the Southern Hemisphere, you will play against each other. If you ended second in the Northern Hemisphere, ended second in the Southern Hemisphere, you will play each other. And obviously, the team who ended first in the Northern Hemisphere and ended first in the Southern Hemisphere will play the final to see who's the best team overall. And how the finals will work is each game. So if a North team play versus the South team, whoever wins that game will score 1 point for their hemisphere respectively. So if the Northern Hemisphere wins the first game in the finals weekend, they will score 1 point for the Northern Hemisphere. And so it will go on. And the first hemisphere to reach 4 points will win the overall to see who's the best hemisphere, the Northern Hemisphere or the Southern Hemisphere. And then obviously we will have a final game to decide between the number 1 position of the Northern Hemisphere, the number 1 position in the Southern Hemisphere. They will play against each other to see who's the best team overall. So we put 2 trophies basically handed out. The best team overall in the Northern Hemisphere, then the Southern Hemisphere, and to see who is the best hemisphere overall, the Northern Hemisphere or the Southern Hemisphere. So that is basically how it's going to work. And I must say, I'm very interested to see how that's going to work because the fixtures that is bringing out for us as rugby fans is absolutely ridiculous. It's blockbuster fixtures. Look at the weekend's fixtures. Starting out with the Humdinger versus New Zealand versus France. Then we have Japan, Italy. That's going to be a good game as well. Australia, Ireland. Oh, that's going to be great as well. Fiji versus Wales. Then obviously we have the Bokke versus the English. And to kick it off, the weekend, we have Argentina versus Scotland. So that's how the Nations Championship is going to work. So it's not individual games. It's not once-off games. This is a league tournament basically. Obviously, for each win you get 4 points. For each draw you get 2 points. For each bonus point you get 1 point. Bonus point for 4 tries. Bonus point for losing within 7 points. So this is must say this is very interesting, and this is obviously a build up towards the World Cup next year. So what do you guys think? Are you guys excited to see the Nation Championships, see how it works? So if you guys know, so tomorrow's games has all had to do with each other. So if New Zealand wins, I don't know if we're supporting New Zealand tomorrow. So I think as the Southern Hemisphere, we must support the Southern Hemisphere teams because the North is definitely going to be doing that. What do you guys think of the Nation Championship for 2026? Are you guys excited of this new format of rugby tournament?